Are they gone? You might be asking who. Well, that would be my sponsor for today, which is no one, so you're good to go, don't worry. So, welcome to your first lesson in financial literacy. Today we will be talking about budgets. So, what exactly is a budget? Well, a budget helps you determine how much money you need to spend on different things and how much you can save from it. It's a plan to help you manage your money and make smart decisions to avoid overspending, debt, and running out of money. So, pretty much, short term is you know what you're doing with your money so you don't waste it. Now, it's important to have a budget because it helps you understand that your money is actually finite. You don't have an infinite amount of it, even though your card may say, hey, look at me, I'm just that black little card. You could just swipe me and things will happen. Actually, not the case. You can, in fact, run out of money. So, a budget is good to know where's the money going. Do you have enough money to buy the thing you're trying to buy? Or will your card at some point just tell you, hey, I can't do that anymore, I am broke? It also helps you not take out money from your savings. So if you have like a savings account, which is for like emergencies and stuff, you do not want to take that money from that savings account, because if you do, things will just not be great, because now let's say you have 5,000 Rand in your savings. Now you've figured out, oh my gosh, half of the month have passed. Here are some unexpected costs that just randomly appeared because I didn't know about them before, but if I did a little bit budgeting, I would have. Boom, there your 5,000 is cut in half to like 2,500, and now what you're going to do. So a budget will just help you know exactly where's your money going, especially with things like subscriptions, because you don't always know what subscriptions you have until you go through them and go like, what the heck, I'm paying 500 Rand on subscriptions? What? And you realize very quickly that you should maybe cut your subscriptions. You might be thinking, but hey, might not be useful for me. I'm just a kid, don't have a family, nothing. But if you learn it now, it could help you in the future, because having a budget becomes incredibly useful, 10 times more useful once you actually have a family you have to take care of. Because then you suddenly have to look out for people other than yourself. Meaning, if you run out of money, your family runs out of money, which is something you don't want to have happen. Because your financial well being will have a side effect on everyone around you. Now, let's start off with the basics. How exactly do you budget? Well, step one would be to track your income and expenses. So, your income is the money you make, and this will be from work, side hustles, freelancing, or even the money you get on your birthday. So, if someone gives you a card to maybe go buy some clothes, or just some money like your grandma slips it into your hand while she visits you or something like that. And in your expenses, that would be the money you spend. This includes food, bills, subscriptions, clothing, and actually your savings. So that would be considered kind of an expense. I do this because you'll see later why I'm saying it's an expense, even though it's actually a saving. Step two is to set a goal. So a personal example I can give you is I want to buy a 3D printer. Now, the one I want is unfortunately around 20,000 Rand or $1,000, and that is pretty ouch. Now, my goal is to budget so I can afford that 3D printer because I want it. Your budget may take you a while to actually get to that, where usually if you don't have a budget, you might just buy things like, oh, I want some manga this month. So you go out and buy yourself 300 Rand's worth of manga. Turns out you don't really need that, but now you're 300 Rand short of making your budget so you can buy that 3D printer. So following your budget by setting a goal will give you a lot of dopamine once you actually reach that goal, because it will require you some discipline to stick with the goal. It will also encourage you to adjust your spending habits and try to save more money, because if you have a goal to, let's say, buy a 3D printer or even a car, or it can be anything, if you have a goal to do that and you set your mind to it, it might encourage you to go, I don't need to buy me a manga this month. Let me rather save that money, or I don't need to go out to go eat with my friends. Let me maybe save that money and put it away. You might think, not really that big, but when you consider one book of manga, usually on its affordable part, is 200 Rand. Then you go out to eat with your friends. Let's say you all split the tab, maybe another 200 Rand. There's already 400 Rand. Then let's say, you want to buy a snack, 50 Rand. Or you run out of some food this month, or you want to buy something with checker 6060. That's like another 150. EDC, let's say it all adds up to 1,000 Rand. 1,000 Rand you could have saved. 1,000 Rand you could have put away, bring you 1,000 Rand closer to your goal. So that is why it's important to set a goal so you know when to stop, when to go, wait. If I want to reach my goal, let me first do this. Step 2, which is probably the most difficult of the steps, is to reduce your debt. Now it's important to note, debt is the money you owe. This is usually to a bank or a friend or a family member. Having large amounts of debt or being unable to pay them can cause damage to your credit score, and we'll get into a later course on why is your credit score that important. But it could damage your credit score, and not only that, it can cause you to need to pay more than what you initially borrowed thanks to interest and fees, which we'll come to in a later tutorial as well. And this also means if you have friends or family you borrow a lot from, it's really important to make sure you don't borrow too much, because even if you pay it back, borrowing can cause ripples in your relationships, especially once your friends or family starts to feel that, hey, maybe they're only really important to you because of the money. This can cause entire relationships to fall apart, and I have firsthand experienced this, so I recommend you caution, both in lending out money as well as borrowing. So in both ways, just be cautious about it, because lending out to friends will not only negatively affect your balance, because if they don't pay it back, you're not going to get your money, but if they become dependent on you, you could start feeling like you're only good for helping them financially, as well as borrowing, because now you need to pay them back. You have a need to pay them back if you're a good person. And if you don't pay them back, or you take too long to pay them back, they might start getting frustrated with you. So those are pretty much the 3 things you need to look out for. And now that we have that in mind, let's look at some practical examples of how we can actually create our own budget. So first, let's look at a spreadsheet, which I think is what most of you will probably consider using. So you can use Excel, Google Sheet, LibreOffice. Not use the open source one, but you could use something like that, and you can create your budget on the spreadsheet. So list out your incomes, list out your expenses, and if you're enough of a tech wizard, you could use formulas and functions to calculate and compare it automatically. And I think there are ones or templates that are already there which will do it for you, but I'm not an Excel master or anything, so I won't be teaching you how to do that because I don't know how to do it myself. Plus, I don't use spreadsheets, but if you do like using spreadsheets, this could be the way forward. Second method, old school. You can use pen and paper to just write down your incomes and expenses, and it's as simple as it comes. I'm not a big fan of this, but if that is what you'd prefer, you can do it. And then third, my most recommended option is to just use an app. So instead of using something like Excel, just use one of these apps. For example, you can use Every Dollar, which is what I initially started with, but moved from YNAB, which I think is a paid way to track your budget. And if you're like me, and you don't like that these things are closed source, meaning you don't know what's going on behind the scenes, for example, they could be tracking how much income you're bringing in and how much you have in your savings. And then they could like sell that to, I don't know, a car manufacturer or car salesperson. And that car salesperson can like then run an ad to you that says, hey, you could possibly afford this car. Why not buy it? And then tempting you to buy something you might not really need. So I don't like thinking that might happen. You know, they might be selling the data I'm putting on their servers. And that's why I don't like these closed source solutions. So if you prefer to have an open source alternative that won't sell your data and you know it, then I would recommend going for something such as Homebank, Money Manager, EX, GNU Cash, or the one I personally use, Actual Budget. And I'll use Actual Budget to just show you the basics of how to budget using Actual Budget, but this will also directly translate to any of the other software you'd prefer to use. So if you prefer to use Every Dollar, which is actually really easy to use, so if you prefer your closed source solution, you could go for that, then I recommend go for Every Dollar. The concepts and ideas will stay the same. And I recommend, if you find actual budget to be too complex for you to understand, which I will understand because when I first got into it, I was like, what the heck is going on? Then I would recommend as a backup going every dollar. And if you find every dollar a little bit too complex or techy to understand, then I would recommend going Excel. So yeah, that's pretty much budgeting. That's knowing where your money is going to be going and exactly what you'll be paying each month. And that's all for budgeting. Thank you for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Leave a thumbs up if you liked, subscribe if you like. And in the next video, we'll be taking a look at how to work with actual budget so you can start budgeting on your own.